Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Breakfast with Boom. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL, and we are now in the last month of summer, and I honestly could not be happier. I don't know about you guys, but I live in New York, and it's been 90 plus degrees for what seems like weeks, and the humidity count is at 90%, so it's disgusting. But I'm going to tell you what's not disgusting. That is, of course, the topics for today's show. And in order to entertain everyone, I needed to put a panel of community superstars together, and I did just that. So first up is, and he's appearing for the first time on the show, and I honestly can't thank him enough for that. That is Proto Foxy. What's up, dude? Thank you for so much for coming on today's show.
Oh, boom. That was just such a hell of an intro there. I don't know if I can even follow that up myself. I want to say thanks for having me on, man. It's great. I got a cup of coffee. I'm ready to talk about these great topics, man.
I really appreciate it. Yeah, and you know what? I like having everyone that I've had on the show before on because we become friends behind the scenes. But I like having new
Right.
people on because I like promoting others. It's something that's one has been at the driving force of my channel is not only providing fun and cool entertainment for the fans, but supporting and promoting new and upcoming people. I think that's something that's not that's overlooked on a lot of shows, and I like being that good guy of the internet. But next up. We have the man that I refuse to stop following and someone that might have gotten an order of protection against me for it, Microbox. Welcome back, dude. I appreciate it.
It was getting that way. We've actually managed to do a couple of podcasts without each other now, but I was getting attachment issues. I was missing you, to be honest.
Well, I appreciate it. Hey, listen, I'm glad that you're here. I really dig what you have to say on the other shows, and it should be a fun show.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Of course it will be. You're hosting it, so it's going to be a cracker, mate.
Well, I appreciate it. And last, of course, and certainly not least, is the person who legally changed his middle name to Forza. That is Alan Walsh. What's going on, dude? How's everything?
I wish I could actually do that. That was a great intro. Thank you so much, Boom. It's great to be on the show. It's my second time
Yes,
on this
yes.
podcast, and it's such an honor to be back. Honestly, thank you so much for having me on. It's great. I'm geared up to talk about all things games.
Yes. Well, listen, you know what? We're going to jump right into the topics. And like I had said in the DM, the first big block is, of course, your specialty, and that is Forza. And this was a big deal. I want to get everyone's opinion on this. Forza Motorsport is dropping loot boxes or the prize crates. For some reason, even though the game came out a while ago, people still think that there's microtransactions in the game that you can spend real money on, and it's been a real problem for the game. And it's something that it actually lost points when it was being reviewed for, and I still find that to be very insulting. But I want to just kind of read a few things. I pulled this article, and I just want to read a few excerpts from it. Basically, Alan Hartman made the announcement over the official Forza website, confirming that the developer will be looking to get rid of prize crates. As it turns out, Turn 10 is aiming to lose the loot boxes this holiday season as well. So it's not going to show. It's not going to show up in Forza Horizon 4. I think that's good to get this out of the way because that game is, let's call a spade a spade. Forza Horizon 3 is one of the highest rated Xbox One titles on Metacritic. And I'm expecting Forza Horizon 4 to have the same, but it's really good to get all the negativity with these loot prize crates out of the way. But I just always want to read the last thing from this article. Hartman explained in the post that the developer had listened to player feedback, admitting that the gamer responses stated that the loot box system feels out of place in the game. The game will not be receiving paid tokens, and these tokens will not be coming to Forza Horizon 4 either. However, because of the sheer complexity of getting rid of the prize crates from the title, as they are so entrenched in the gameplay, it's going to take until the end of the year for them to entirely remove it. Now, I want to get, Alan, I want to go right to you, dude. how important do you think it is for this team to get ahead of this loot crate shenanigans and kind of just move everything out of the way for Forza Horizon 4, but still maintaining the class and precision that Forza Motorsport 7 brings to the Xbox?
Well, first of all, I thought they got that announcement out at perfect timing, and you'll see why as we continue this conversation. But one little thing about the article that does kind of annoy me a little bit is in that article, I don't know who wrote it, but they do say it's so entrenched into the gameplay. That's a little bit inaccurate. You don't need to use the prize crates in the game if you don't want to. They are completely optional. They don't even have cars in them anymore, and there were never any cars exclusive to them. All the prize crates would do is you'd unlock driver gear outfits if you want to customize your character, or you'll unlock these little things that are referred to as mods, and mods would give you like little accelerators, like you might earn a 50% credit bonus in this race, or if you do this race event and turn off certain assists, you'll earn a credit bonus, or you'll earn an XP bonus, things of that nature. So there was nothing like that would give you a gameplay advantage in these prize crates, like ever. There was no advantage to the prize crates. It was purely one of two things: cosmetics or a way to earn credits slightly faster than normal. That was it. You could never buy them with real world currency. They don't even apply to the online side of the game either. So it's like it was a very, very optional kind of side feature, and I feel like something they were more experimenting with more than anything. They were like, okay, we need to figure out a mechanic for people to unlock these driver gear suits. The popular craze at the time last year was loot boxes. So they're like, okay, let's just do prize crates. Let's put these driver gear outfits into them. And oh, we can put these mod cards into them as well. And oh, we can put some cars into them as well. So maybe you can buy a prize crate, like you could buy a 25,000 credit prize crate. And look, you might earn a car that's worth 100,000 credits. So, you know, things like that. So it actually meant for some people, if they got lucky, they could get some really good stuff out of these prize crates by spending very little in-game currency. And again, no real form transactions in the game. There were no microtransactions. That was it. You had your standard $7 monthly car pack as normal, which were all.
And you didn't have to buy that. You didn't have to buy that. That's completely optional.
Yeah, it's completely optional. But if you got the Ultimate Edition, then you get your car pack every month.
Correct. Yes, and they wound up adding 2 additional car packs to that at the back end. They didn't charge for that.
Yes. So you had the absolutely stellar Top Gear car pack last month, a brilliant car pack. And this month, I believe this month's car pack is going to be a Formula Drift themed car pack, and they're going to talk more about that next week. That's the great thing as well about Forza, actually. If you follow it, you'll know that it's a never-ending thing. There's always news, there's always announcements, there's always something going on within the Forza scene. But yeah, next week they're going to have the August update. They're going to announce stuff for Forza Motorsport 7, and I'm excited to see what they introduce to it. You know, the communication for Forza Motorsport 7, like the response that game received last year has kind of almost changed the overall perspective and outlook of the team. They're very open and they communicate a lot about features. They'll say on their live streams, we're experimenting with this and we're experimenting with that and we're trying all this stuff out, all based on community feedback. So they're really listening and engaging with their fans, and I think it has changed the overall outlook of the team. Like they even said recently, they're not developing Forza Motorsport 8. They're focused on the game everyone has right now and improving the game everyone has right now. So yeah, there's good stuff happening, and I think removing the prize crates was almost their way of saying, look, you know, we hear you.
Yeah.
Now, they know that the hardcore competitive Forza players, like I even did a poll on Twitter to check, they actually weren't bothered by prize crates. The people who were bothered by prize crates were casual players and the media.
Yeah,
they were the people bothered by prize crates. Not so much your hardcore Forza fans. They had other issues with the game.
Right.
And those were the issues that Turn 10 prioritized. And now that they kind of got those out of the way, now they've gone back to the prize crates. They're getting that rectified. So they did focus on their hardcore fans first, which is something I appreciate a lot.
Of course you do. Yeah. So yeah, they're basically talking directly to you. But before you continue, I just got to say a big shout out and thank you to Legan Killed Me with the $5 super chat, dude. He was first in line. I appreciate you being here. And he's saying that he was waiting for the kick-ass show, which I really appreciate, and that he has his Red Bull in hand ready to go. And of course, Alan Savage with the $20 super chat. Alan, I can't thank you enough, dude. You know, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes, and seeing stuff like this just it makes me emotional because it proves that the work I'm putting into it, people actually care about, and that makes me really happy. And this is what he had to say. Good morning, everyone. Hit that like button and subscribe to these guys. Great panel, great show. And of course, Alan, you are one of the finest community members. I've said that to you on numerous occasions. Thank you so much. But yeah, listen, I got to be honest with you, Alan. If you are a fan of Forza, doesn't matter which one. See, for me, I buy Motorsport. I've purchased every one of them. Do you know how much I really play of it? Maybe 10 hours. And it's not because the game is terrible. I buy it because I like supporting the company, but it's just not my bag. My game is Horizon, and I really destroy that game. And I was actually just picked it up the other day, and I was playing it on the Hot Wheels track. And if you are a Forza fan, all you have to do is smile from ear to ear and know two things. One, you have the best racer on your Xbox console, and two, that's the only place that you could play it. And I think that is a big, big win for anyone that has supported this company since the old days. And Alan, I really enjoyed what you had to say. You want to add anything else to it?
Well, yeah, you know, one little other thing actually is it's quite funny. So it was last Thursday with the announcement that they were removing the prize crates from Forza 7. And not bringing the token system into Motorsport 7 and Horizon 4. So tokens, if you're not aware, are literally a system where you'd buy a certain amount of tokens. It was introduced way back in 2011 on Forza 4, so it goes back a long time. And with the tokens, you'd spend so much money on them and you could buy any car you wanted without having to grind to unlock that car in-game. Now again, hardcore Forza fans didn't really mind the token system because earning credits in the game was actually very easy, so it wasn't really needed. But that token system isn't coming to Forza 7, it isn't coming to Horizon 4, and about 4 days after that announcement, Gran Turismo Sport added microtransactions.
Yes, well, that's a topic.
Really
we're gonna segue into that. That's actually a big thing.
It's really, really interesting, and that's why I said at the start of the show, Turn 10's announcement was perfect timing for multiple reasons, and that being one of them.
Yes, well, look, it's like I said, we're gonna tackle that because that's a big subject. Proto Foxy, I want to go to you, dude.
All right.
I've heard you on numerous podcasts, and I think that you're great. I think that you really have because you're an older gamer like me, so you appreciate what we're seeing because you have an ideology of where we came from, and that's something that you have to experience. Do you think that because when you say loot boxes, it's almost like you're cursing, right? And it's funny, but it needed to be done because it was a way I believe that these big corporations were exploiting the supporters of their games in a way that was gross. Do you think that this is a big deal that Forza is not only removing the loot crates that you can't buy, you were only winning these with in-game, actually playing the game, but getting ahead of this before Forza Horizon 4 and letting everyone know, says, hey, listen, no controversy, it's out. What do you think about that?
I think it's a good move on their part for sure. Like you had stated, yeah, we're old school, man, and it definitely raises my ire, the whole loot crate thing in general. And you're right, it's a dirty word in gaming. And to hear that, Forza's getting ahead of all of this and saying, hey, listen, we are listening, we are paying attention, and they're dropping it is, it's definitely very heartening for me because it's like, okay, they are paying attention, and maybe this is going to be a step towards gaming as a whole, getting, at least steering away from, I don't think we're ever going to be rid of loot crates and prize boxes and all that stuff and microtransactions. I unfortunately think that that's going to be here to stay. But I think finally these major developers and major publishers and all of that are finally realizing that, hey, this isn't the best thing there is. It's just basically opening up a free cheat. Now, what's interesting is what Alan was saying about how, you know, they were handling it for Forza. And I found that very interesting, is that the hardcore gamers weren't, hardcore Forza gamers weren't bothered by it at all. It was more the casual people. And that's very telling of the audience at large, you know, because, the casual people are almost getting more upset that people at least had the ability to not grind and not put the time in, you know, so that's very telling of how the general audience and even the media is taking this whole microtransactions and loot crate thing on a whole. That's very surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is. You know what? There's two ways you could look at it. Yes, some people were bothered by it, and I totally get it, because, you know, this game was misunderstood from the jump when it came to these goddamn loot crates. And it still boils my blood, because it is probably, yes, it did launch with a few features missing, and, you know, and it was a little bit of a rocky start, but the game was solid. And it really kind of took it on the head, you know, because of all of this loot crate nonsense. Because people, I'm not saying people blew it out of proportion. People had every right to get out in front of this and scream to the, you know, to the rafters that we're tired of it before it even gets out of control. And I'm really happy that the gaming masses took a stand. And, you know, we obviously seen what that looks like in the form of Battlefront 2. That was a complete disaster, where this is still gaining success. But Micro, I want to go to you, dude. You're a Forza fan, but my question to you is: was this important for the developer to not only try and still maintain a positive sale on Forza Motorsport 7 by publicly saying that we're taking these out, but to get in front of this before Horizon comes out in a couple of months, so there's no controversy?
Oh, good. Yeah, definitely. I mean, they made the right decision by doing this, and you know, hats off to them. And it needed to be done sooner, but you know, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do when you sort of when you start changing systems in games. It's not an easy thing to do, so it's not a 5-minute fix. I mean, yeah, I mean, I've had all the Forza games, and I'm a big racing fan, and I do enjoy my racing games. And Forza is without a doubt the best racing series out there. There's nothing that comes close to it. I've never been on board with as fantastic as Forza Motorsport 7 is, and it's an amazing game. It plays beautifully and it looks amazing. But I've never liked the reward system in that game. It's just something about it I just haven't liked, and the whole loot box thing. As soon as you see loot box, alarm bells start going off, and,
yes.
You know, it's just one of those things. It's like one of those words you don't like using, and I'm not a big fan of that whole system at all. I want to do my races, and I want to make my money, and then I want to go and buy what I want, and I don't want all this sort of randomization stuff in the background and all that. And the fact that they're not bringing that into Forza Horizon 4 as well, brilliant. You know, the thing is, they've tried it, and hats off to them. You know, they're willing to try new things, and it may have worked. We may have loved it, but as it turned out, you know, it's not something that, you know, we particularly like. You know, not everybody. I mean, obviously, I mean, as Alan said, I mean, it's not something that bothered. You know, certain members of the Forza community were happy with it, but it's funny that the casual community weren't too happy with it when it actually benefits them more. That's a bit bizarre, but I you know, the whole microtransaction, loot box, all that sort of thing, I just hate it, and I just wish it would go away. And I'm a little puzzled at GTA. I know we're going to talk about GT Sport later on, but I'm a bit puzzled on that whole thing that's come up about now, and the fact that Sony are possibly looking at this as a future business structure and all these microtransactions. We've all had enough of it, and I think Battlefront 2 is a prime example of, you know, if you do this on the wrong title, there will be a massive backlash, and it will come back and bite you on the ass, big style. I mean, for this sort of thing to get so out of hand that even Disney stepped in. You know, microtransactions and loot boxes in general just need to go away. You know, we've got DLC. DLC's fine. At the end of the day, it's you know, as with Forza, you get your car packs and things. That's fine. Buy extra circuits, things like that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you know, and on free games, you know, I fully support them in free games. I mean, games like Fortnite that they, you know, all these developers spend an absolute fortune developing and they give away free. They should have a means to make money back, and so I have no issue with microtransactions in those games. But when you're spending sort of £50-60 on a game, you want the game. You don't want to have to keep piling money into it. It's just like you're paying for a bloody license fee.
yeah, no, you're right. You're definitely right. I just want to give a shout out to Jay Zayas, $5 in the super chat, dude. He's a big supporter of my show, of my work. I really appreciate it, Jay. Thank you so much. I do have a question, and I want to throw this out there before we get into Forza Horizon talk. Do you guys, and I'll start with Alan first, do you agree with the community's overall opinion that the prize crate situation seemed out of place for Forza Motorsport 7?
Yeah, like I was never like too certain of how like a loot box mechanic would work in a racing game, but when Forza 7 introduced the driver gear outfits, you know, the prize crate thing, you know, cosmetics and loot boxes tend to go hand in hand with each other. So I think that's why we did end up getting the prize crate system in Motorsport 7. Now, I remember when I first heard about prize crates, it was at Gamescom last year. I was seeing a behind closed doors demo for Forza 7. And at the end of the demo, there's a Q&A session. So I put up my hand and I say, hey, what's the prize crate thing that I've been seeing around the UI? You know, what does that mean? And they're like, oh, so prize crates are just going to give you, you know, you spend a certain amount of credits on them, you'll earn your mods, you can earn some cars, you can earn some driver gear, etc. And it didn't seem too bad. And they actually said to me at the time, we're not going to charge real money for these crates. It's just going to be purely cosmetic. It's just going to be another option. You see, Forza has this weird, it's a weird little issue where the hardcore fans, what can happen is if you play it a lot, you end up with millions and millions and millions and millions of credits in the game with absolutely nothing to spend them on because you already own everything.
That's exactly what Alan Savage just said. He literally said he has so much money.
Exactly. So the thing is, how do we introduce, you own all the cars, so I think what Turn 10 were saying in their meetings was, how do we introduce a system so people can spend these credits and not have this bulk up of millions and nothing to do with it? And I think that's where driver gear came from, a new form of collectible outside of cars, and that's where prize crates came from. So you can spend credits on cars, on prize crates to get driver gear suits. I think that's what the thinking behind it was. Now, how you're going to acquire driver gear suits after the prize crates are removed, that hasn't been detailed just yet. You can earn driver gear suits from participating in community events and by leveling up, but I think they're going to introduce a system where you can just buy suits directly using credits and bypassing the crate system. I think that's how they're going to do it. But
okay, I think that would probably be better, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it probably would be. Like, I think with prize crates, I think they actually had more so good intentions behind them, especially when they said to me at Gamescom, we're not going to charge for these. So they were already saying before launch, we're not going to charge for these. It's just a new optional mechanic that we've introduced to see how it goes. And yeah, they saw how it went. They saw that a lot of people in the mainstream didn't like it. It didn't blow up as big as the VIP issue. That was a whole other thing.
Unfortunately, this title, man, it launched with a lot of backlash before the game even officially came out.
You had your more casual players complaining about VIP and prize crates. You had your more hardcore players complaining about missing features and bugs and server issues.
Yes.
So you see the divide. The hardcore players They didn't like getting disconnected from multiplayer races. They didn't like that spectate mode were missing. They didn't like that the esports features were missing. Those have all been fixed and introduced to the game since then. But at launch, there were issues with that. And then you had the casual player saying, we don't like prize crates. We don't like microtransactions, even though they weren't in the game. We don't like prize crates. You see what I mean? So there was a lot of stuff surrounding the game when it came out last year.
Yes. Well, listen, you know what? It is what it is, but you know, they're fixing it. They're listening. They've added features that were missing.
Absolutely.
Micro, I'm going to go to you, dude. Do you think that this was important for them to, like I said, come forward and actually, I've already asked you that question. I'm sorry, I'm kind of out of order here. The question that, of course, that I'm talking about is how out of place the loot crates felt in this game, and because you're a big player of it, you have a big opinion on it. You know, tell everyone why you did or you didn't care for it.
I didn't care for it. It did feel out of place. You know, I like to. I'm an old school racing gamer. You know, I like to just get me. At the end of the day, what you want to be able to do is build up your cars and tune them up and do all your sort of graphics and stuff on your cars, your decals. Yeah, I couldn't. It just changed the whole dynamic of how you played the game. Not the way. What am I trying to say? It just felt too different. It felt too different from a Forza game.
Right.
Not the racing side of it. They always get that spot on, but the whole reward system. I just want to, and I understand what Alan was saying earlier. You do end up with a hell of a lot of money left over, and you've got nothing to spend it on. And you know, it's been a while since I've had that situation in Forza, but but I can understand it from his point of view. But for me, I just don't like all that randomness. I'd rather just have the money and then go to the store. And then if I want to buy a new racing suit, I'll buy the one I want and just don't get around. I'm constantly getting ones I'd never use. And to be honest with you, as far as the racing suits go, I mean, you don't really see them that often anyway. You only see it on the front screen when you're stood outside the car.
Right. Yeah.
So it's not a big thing for me. I don't really care what my blokes, you know, what my driver's wearing in the car. I'm more concerned about what car I'm in and whether it's doing what I want it to do and whether, you know, so I want to be able to spend the money how I want and getting all these sort of tokens and then buying these loot crates and then just getting random stuff that I'm never going to use. It doesn't pay off for me, and I'm not that keen on the mod system either, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't like that system either. I mean, there's mods that you can get that I never use them.
So the idea behind mods is that it will try and get you tempted to switch off assists and push yourself harder. So you try to, you know, you increase the difficulty. You try, you know, turning off the assists to make the game's physics, you know, that bit more realistic. And it's try and push you that bit more. Like, I get the idea behind it. I think it's a pretty okay thing to have in there for single player. Like, again, if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. No,
I mean, you don't, and you know, I mean, I can understand why they put it in there, but it's just another thing that you have to remember. I mean, I'm forever going through 3 or 4 races and then realizing, oh shit, I haven't put the mods back. You know, my mods have run out and I haven't used any more. I haven't put any more on. I'm forever doing that, and you get mods that have 1 use and 3 uses. Like, I have to keep track of my game more than I have to do what's going on outside the house. So I can understand why they put them in, but I think, you know, if it don't change too much, at the end of the day, Forza gamers just want to get into the cars and they want to be able to race. And I don't want to be messing around with all these mods and loot boxes and all that sort of thing. I just want to get the car I want, and if I haven't got the car I want, I've got to grind and race to make money to buy the bloody car I want, and then I can buy the car I want, and then I can race that
and just be happy with it.
And just move on for that. I mean, because Forza Motorsport, the Forza Motorsport series is my racer of choice. I like Horizons, but it's not a hardcore racing game. I mean, Horizons is the sort of exploration and sort of have a laugh with your mates type of game. But I like serious track circuit racing, and So Forza Motorsport 7 is my game 2 for that when I'm not playing Formula 1. So I do like my Formula 1 games. So yeah, to me it just puts too much there it just overly complicates something that's already quite complicated and tricky to master anyway.
Yeah,
it's just one extra thing I've got to try and remember. Oh, I haven't done that mod, so I'm going to get less money this.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you there. I kind of just want to jump in the car and go, but I want to get photo proxies. I said it backwards actually.
And it's happened before, so it's no big thing.
Oh my God. I want to get your take. You played enough of Forza to know, did this loot box situation feel out of place for a Forza title for you?
Oh, absolutely it did. And then for me, actually, to be honest, the loot boxes in racers, it just seems to be out of place in general. It always seems like I'm against all that stuff anyway, and I'll get that out of the way now. But it always seems like that's more like kind of like the first person shooter, you know, the competitive shooter type thing, you know.
Yeah.
And not so much a racing game. So it definitely does seem out of place. It seems like it's shoehorned. And then hearing Alan and Micro, because I haven't really checked this one out yet. Hearing Alan and Micro go on about it just seems like they tried quite a bit of different things to get them to stick, and it just seems like they kind of overly complicated a lot, you know. And yeah, it's just out of place. It's like both Alan and Micro were saying, it's just why can't it just be about jumping in the car, racing, grinding, earning your money to get the next car, and so on and so forth. I mean, that's the whole point of racers to begin with, is it not? You know?
Yes. Well, I mean, again, that's the whole point of it. Just again, you want it to be somewhat complex, but not overly thought over. And I think that's what they attempted to do by adding these loot crates or loot prize boxes, however you want to say it. I'm glad that they're gone, but you know what? We're going to continue to Forza talk because Forza Horizon 4 is shaping up to quite possibly outshine the third installment. And that's honestly really hard to believe because it is, like I said in the early part of the show, it's the highest rated Xbox game on Metacritic. And what they have shown on Mixer, I've only seen a couple of videos of this, but let me ask you guys, and again, I'm going to go right to Alan right away. The way that this game is shaping up to be, could this possibly be a Game of the Year title? Not Racer of the Year, but Game of the Year title in many of the media's top 10 lists.
You know, it could. I think it has a running chance. There's a lot of games coming out this year, though. You have to remember, like, you have Red Dead, Spider-Man, you've God of War earlier in the year. So there's a lot of stuff in the running, but I definitely think, especially on the Xbox One side of things, I think Forza Horizon 4 is certainly up there. Like, because, you know, Horizon 4, when I look at it, I'm not just thinking of this as just another open world racing game. It almost feels like an open world racing RPG MMO game.
Yes.
I know that might sound really crazy to some people, but it does. Every car has its own progression tree, and it looks flippin' amazing. You can buy your own house. I think there's 13 houses you can buy in the game. So by the way, we're not going to have those millions of credits left over in our bank accounts anymore, because Edinburgh Castle, which is the most expensive property in the game, and I've heard it costs millions. So
oh man, this is something new being added that I'm really, again, it's so different than your average racer. All you could do is walk away impressed. And let's talk about the social aspect of this. You're going to see someone racing around in your game, not a drivatar, so a real person driving around in your game that you can just, drive next to or follow or crash their car, whatever you want to do. That's a real big ad for this game. I mean, what do you think, Alan?
Yeah, it's really cool. So 72 player online for the shared open world experience. That's pretty insane. That's a lot of people. And what I love is, other games have kind of tried similar, such as The Crew. However, if your internet connection goes a little wobbly, you get booted back out to the main
Yes.
menu.
Yes,
That's
you
not the
do.
case in Horizon 4. Nothing actually changes. If your internet connection goes wobbly, all that happens is the other racers are just replaced by drivatars.
Oh, that's
Easy.
great. So there's
So
basically no interruption.
no interruption, no always online requirement. You can play the game fully offline. And if you're someone who says, I like this shared world thing, but I'd rather play with drivatars like I did in Horizon 3, you can do that. You can
Oh, that's
switch
great.
between online.
Choice is key.
Yep, you can switch between online and offline as much as you want, which is fantastic. You can do private lobbies with your friends. You can team up with other drivers that you meet in the shared world. You can, form things which are like convoys. So you might be in this 72-player shared world, but four of you might be in a convoy sticking together and competing in events together. There's a lot of really cool stuff. Like there's so many different layers of progression as well. Like as I was saying, there's progression for every car in the game. There's they're bringing back the character customization again, but rather than it being suits, there's different like t-shirts and hoodies and trousers and shoes and stuff like that. So they're bringing that back, but without the loot crates and all that, obviously. And there's a lot of really cool stuff, and they're going to add things every week. So rather than monthly car packs, it's going to be 2 cars every week.
Oh,
There's going to be new events every week, and they're going to remix the old showcase events. So the big showcase events where you race hovercrafts and jets and stuff like that.
Yes.
Those are going to be remixed after release with different seasons, different times of day, different vehicles, and just different settings. So they're going to remix those so you can replay them. And the other really cool feature is that not many have spoken about is that there's an actual race route creator. Now, I don't know if this is going to be available at launch, but when it does come out, people are going to be able to make their own race tracks with custom placed checkpoints wherever they want. So you can do all kinds of crazy race routes. They can be on road, they can be off road. There can be lots of checkpoints. It can only be a few checkpoints. You want to make a huge racetrack in the open world, go for it, and then share it online with the community for other people to download. I'm really excited to see what people make with the race route creator, because it's in GTA Online and it's something that has helped extend the longevity of GTA Online.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that.
I'm really hopeful that it does the same to Horizon 4. So, like, if you've Playground adding content on a weekly basis, the community constantly making content in the game, and then you have all these different layers of progression in the game, it's like it's gonna be never ending.
And that's what you want.
Great.
You
That's
literally
what you want.
right. If you're a Horizon fan, you're going to be able to logistically play this for a solid 2 years until the next one, and always have something to do.
So content every week, and you're going to be getting 2 full expansions as well. Expansions similar to Blizzard Mountain and Hot Wheels. We know the quality of those; they were amazing.
They certainly were.
So you're going to have 2 of those expansions as well. You're going to have 2 cars every week. You're going to have new events every week. You have all these different layers of progression. You have the houses. You have the businesses. You can buy businesses. One of them, actually, that's really cool is a supercar rental business where you drive supercars for fun and kind of rent them out to other people. And every time you log into the game, you earn credits from your supercar rental business. There's other types of business as well. There's a crazy taxi-style business where you drive the old London taxi and pick up people and drop them off to different locations. You earn money from doing that as well. So you have
an Uber driver in the game.
you literally can. It's pretty cool. I gotta respect some of the stuff they're doing here.
They're doing things different. It's not going to be. It's not going to. It's what I like about it is that the game isn't becoming stale. It's not just a rave with a lot of big music and big cars. They're adding all this stuff. But I just want to say thank you to the Analog Circle podcast for the $5 super chat. And they say, keep up the positive vibes, Boom. I love the show, brother. And I thank you very much for that. I really like to throw it out there that I'm a positive guy. I'm glad that's coming over the air, because it is something that's very important to me. But Proto Foxy, and I got it right this time. God damn it!
Yes, sir, you did.
I want to talk to you for a second.
All right.
This is what they've done is they've shown this several times in different seasons, and from what they've seen, from what Alan is saying, listen, I don't know if it's ever happened, but this has the potential to shock the gaming world by winning Game of the Year. By who knows where? It could be IGN, it could be GameSpot, it could be whoever, but someone that's a racing fan may put this in there as their #1 title. What do you think about that, dude?
Well, Horizon 4 right now is already shaping up to be just a media darling in general, so I wouldn't be shocked if it took some kind of Game of the Year somewhere. I mean, it looks impressive. All of the specs that are coming out about it is very impressive. What Alan was just describing, that this is becoming more RPG-esque, is very impressive. I mean, for me, I enjoy driving games and such like that, but I'm more of a passing fan. The more I hear about this game, the more I look into this game, I just keep getting more and more impressed. And it's like, I really kind of just want this now, just because it just seems like they're putting so much into it. I mean, it was always there. It's always been discussed. I've always looked at it, and it's like, yeah, I'll check it out when I get the chance kind of things. Now it's becoming one of these things where it's like, okay, I kind of need this, and I wouldn't be surprised if it took Game of the Year somewhere, not just Driver of the Year. I mean, like it was mentioned before, that it's going up against a lot of hefty competition this year. There's a lot. So I'm not saying it's going to take it all across the board or anything like that, but somebody's going to put it up there. Even if it's, maybe like a small publication, like, something like that. But somebody will put it up there and say, hey, this is the de facto Game of the Year. You need to check this out. This is one that needs to be in your library. And I'm starting to buy into the hype myself. Like I said, it was always there. It was always discussed, but now it's kind of like, yeah, I'm thinking I need this one.
Well, listen, I think it's going to be it's going to be a big seller for the console. I dare even say that it could be a console seller. Microbox, though, I'm going to go to you, dude. This is shaping up to be something special, more than just your average, annual Forza Horizon game. From what Alan was talking about, do you think that this could actually take Game of the Year, maybe even possibly end up in the the Game of the Year show at the end of the year that they have? Could this actually be in the running?
It's difficult to say, because sort of the racing genre is a sort of a niche market, isn't it? I mean, it's not one of those games everybody plays. It's you've got the typical genres of games that everybody will have a go at, but racing games are sort of a specific marketplace for old guys like me. I mean, you could argue that Forza Horizon 3 deserved that accolade.
Yes.
Maybe. I mean, that was a fantastic game, and as Alan mentioned earlier as well, the DLC for that game was incredible. I mean, the Hot Wheels DLC, I mean, whoever came up with that idea should get a gold star. It was amazing. But I mean, there's things there that Alan was saying about this game I didn't even know about that were coming. So I mean, I'm excited for the game anyway. And I mean, one thing that we shouldn't forget, I mean, even if I don't buy, and I might add, the game actually comes out on my birthday, which is an amazing amazing coincidence. I'd be, darling partner, I would like this game. But I mean, I'll get it anyway because it's going to be on Game Pass.
Yes.
So I mean, that's a big thing, but I have people around me that aren't driving fans, they aren't driving game fans, that are saying that they're planning on buying this game. They intend to get this game. It looks fun. It looks amazing. This is going to be the first Forza Horizons that's going to be done from the ground up with the X technology in their mind, because obviously the Forza Horizon 3 was a sort of a patch to bring it up to the X specs, but they're actually going to be doing this from the ground up with the X, being out there. So I mean, it already looks amazing. I mean, I know for a fact that some of the game comes around my neck of the woods. I know Snows Hill Manor's in there, so I'm going to be sort of racing around Cheltenham Town Centre, I expect, past Boots Corner. I think it will come very close to it. Certainly, it's going to easily win Racing Game of the Year. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they always do anyway. Yeah, right. They always do. And I know some people rate Project Cars 2 very highly. I don't. I'm not a big fan of that series at all. I don't know whether it's just me, but I find the controls really glitchy on that game. Certainly, if you're not using the steering wheel, it's an absolute pig. Yeah, no, it'll easily win Racing Game of the Year on the Xbox. But whether it get Game of the Year, I don't know. Well, I say Racing Game of the Year on the Xbox. It'll win Racing Game across all platforms. But I'm not sure. There's too much competition out there for Game of the Year.
But you know what?
Let's not forget that Red Dead Redemption 2 is going to be out this year, and I would be very surprised if that doesn't get Game of the Year. They'll have to do something drastically wrong on that game to not get Game of the Year with that title.
No, you're right. But look, I'm going to segue into it's not a negative thing, but it's definitely the opposite of what the Forza developer is doing. Gran Turismo Sport's big new update introduces microtransactions plus an all-new track and the Lewis Hamilton's title-winning Mercedes-Benz. And this is for the July update, which brings Polo Ponies Digital's PlayStation 4 Racer up to version 1.23 if you were concerned about what update to look for. It just dropped, and it's bringing microtransactions. This is something that Sony said that they were considering doing. And before we get into the points from the panel, let's everyone understand in the chat that this is the worst selling GT game in the history of the franchise. Now it's currently sitting at 3.3 million copies sold since it launched. That is again, you say 3.3 million, like, wow, that's a lot of copies sold. But when you have 85 million console, PS4s out there, that's not a real good attach rate. And I get, I understand that driving games are a niche kind of a thing. I totally get it. But at the same time, it's Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo was the market leader for years. I don't want that to go understated here. Forza came on the scene and took their crown by producing a better product each and every year. And then, of course, they added the Horizon to the mix. And then it was all uphill for that developer. But I want to go to Alan first because you had made mention of it. Do you find that this is honestly a very strange timing that one is announcing we're taking out, but it's not actually loot crates, and here they are offering you can spend real world money?
Yeah. So I think the system is kind of bad. It's expensive for the consumer because I have GT Sport, and it is certainly harder to earn money on that game than it is on Forza, and you do have to put in a decent amount of time to unlock the cars you want. The thing is, these microtransactions that are in GT Sport, the cars can cost anywhere between $1 to $3, I believe is the most expensive. Now, that might not sound too bad, but if you end up buying, say...
10 cars, it's $30.
Cars that cost $3, that's $30. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, after the purchase of the game.
Yeah. Now, I know some people say, yes, but GT Sport does their monthly updates for free and adds their cars for free and all that. But at the end of the day, a lot of the cars and content they're adding, I feel, should have been there at launch. Like they added the Le Mans circuit in June, and it's like, well, that's like one of the most iconic racing courses ever. Like, it should technically have been in the game at launch. Like, they shipped with a lot less content than Forza 7 did, and it will take them a long time to catch up to Forza 7's content.
Right.
Well, I don't know. It's like GT Sport is an interesting game. I respect some of the work Polyphony has done. The escapes feature is excellent. Some of the online racing features are excellent. So the areas they did, focus on, they did a good job of. However, these microtransactions are a little bit unnecessary. And the fact they did it days after Forza's announcement is really, really bizarre. It's just like, it might not be loot boxes, but I genuinely think this system, it's expensive, you know?
Right.
It's an expensive system if you want to take advantage of it. Like, in their PR for the blog post, they say, we understand there's a lot of people out there who don't have all the time to grind and play a lot, and therefore we want to give them a system to collect as many cars and be competitive and online. And that system is pay for each car individually. You know, it's not great. At least with the Forza token system, when that was in the older titles, you could buy a bulk of these tokens and then spend them on as many cars as you want. Whereas for the GT system, it is each car is its own specific transaction and purchase. And for them, it's kind of a smart system because it means they can profit a lot more from it. It's a weird thing. Especially when last year they said they wouldn't do microtransactions
Yes,
in Gran
that's
Turismo
correct.
Sport, and
Yep.
they made that quite clear. And now they're doing this. Like, if they were to change their DLC model from free updates to paid DLC on top of the microtransactions, that wouldn't bode well for that game, in my opinion.
No, it'd be a
The
disaster.
only reason they haven't received a ridiculous amount of backlash for this is because of the free updates. But how long will the free updates keep up for? We don't know. How long will they stick to GT Sport before they move on to another game? We also don't know. Polyphony are keeping their toes very quiet, whereas Forza are communicating a lot of their future stuff for Forza 7 and saying they're not developing Forza 8 at the moment. They're being very open and vocal about what they're doing. With GT, they're being very quiet. We don't know what they're
Yes,
doing.
yes.
We
Also
don't
very
know-
coy with their moves, and that's
Yeah.
that's making a lot of gamers suspicious.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about
So
it.
it's like, if you come to me and you ask me what's coming to Forza 7, well, I'm saying to you, well, they got the race adjudication feature coming, they got the redrawn track limits, they got the new drag mode, they got the new drift features, they got the new cars coming, they are talking about adding new tracks to the game, and they're bringing back rivals class-based leaderboards. That's a lot of features I just listed off the top of my head that are coming soon to Forza 7. For Gran Turismo Sport, no clue.
Right.
They don't communicate what's coming. So you have to kind of presume, okay, well, it's a new month. They'll presumably drop a new update this month. And if they do, then you'll probably get a track, a couple cars, and maybe some bug fixes and some new features to the game. But they don't communicate it in advance. They kind of just release it and are like, here, this is what we're doing this month.
No, well, look, all I know is this. It's funny. And again, this is a little bit off topic, but it's going to work its way into this particular one. Since E3, it seems as if Microsoft has taken the elevator up, whereas Sony has taken the elevator down. And even though they are winning in sales, I mean, you can't deny how incredibly awesome the PlayStation 4 is selling. There's no way to spin that. But it just seems like in regards to announcements and press releases and timing, they seem to be a bit off. Proto Foxy, I want to go to you with this. This announcement of microtransactions, do you think it's possible that this could be the nail in the coffin for this developer?
For the developer, maybe not. For the game itself, yeah, absolutely. You and I discussed this before, and I won't go into my hardline feelings of microtransactions and stuff like that. They're wrong, because we did discuss that. They're wrong. They're wrong. And then on top of that, Gran Turismo saying that, hey, we're not going to do it, and now all of a sudden the numbers come back, and like you had stated, the install base for this game is abysmal at best.
Yes.
And that's a damn shame when you think about it, because Gran Turismo for Sony was that premier title, and
Yes.
anytime you had on a Sony console Gran Turismo coming, it was like you had everybody flocking towards it. It's just very telling of where that series is going on a whole, because again, the abysmal install base, and again, we had discussed this before, and now they're losing money on this. It's like, oh, now we got to put in microtransactions to make up money. And I'm going to say, like I've stated before, it's like if you're losing money, if your install base is that horrible, shame on you. You know, make a better game. Make a game that people want to play. You know, maybe look over at what Microsoft is doing with you know, the Horizon series and, you know, and Forza as a whole, and maybe take that as a model. There's no shame in that. You know what
Right.
I mean?
I absolutely agree with you that, you know what, copying is something a lot of these developers do. You don't have to copy it exactly, but take something that works that doesn't work on your game to try and make it work.
Right, exactly. And it's like when you look at that and you look at, you know, things that influence other ones, you know, a big franchise for Microsoft was, you know, the Gear series. Where did the influence for that come from? Resident Evil 4.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that's very obvious there. You know what I mean? And it's just it's a shame when you think about it because again, like I had stated for Sony, and you know, I'm a multi-plat guy. I don't subscribe to one console versus another and this, that, or the other thing. Um, you know, again, for you know, for Sony, Gran Turismo was premier. That was like one of their premier franchises. Every Sony console had that game, and it was excellent for that console. Unfortunately, this go around, it did nowhere near as well. And again, now that they're going back on their word, saying, "Okay, hey, we're going to introduce microtransactions," again, shame on you. You're worried about not making money, and I understand you got to pay people to keep the lights on, so to speak, as far as the game goes, if you want it to continue to go forward, and especially going into the whole, and I know I'm kind of sidetracking a bit, but going into the whole games as a service model and all of that. But again, make a better game. Put more time into it. Don't ship half-assed, you know, half-assed games and then add more and more, and then, you know, we'll get you in the DLC for this kind of thing. And it's like, even though their updates are free, it's still, again, it's like it wasn't there from the outset and it should have been, you know. And then basically turning around and saying, and I believe it was Alan that mentioned this, saying that, oh, well, we understand that a lot of people don't have the time to play the game and don't have interest in grinding through it, so we're going to make it available through the outset. It's like, okay, in my eyes, at least, and probably the opinions of a lot, that you're basically saying it's okay to pay to get better. It's okay to cheat at this point. All these people, you know, the 3 million people that did buy and did play this game and did grind through it, now you're saying, okay, to try and recoup our losses, we're going to allow people to go ahead and jump in and get there where these people have spent the time putting in. And to me, again, it's shame on you. Shame on you all.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there for sure. I mean, it is. Again, it's one of those strange timing things that I talked about prior to you speaking, dude. But Microbox, I want to get your opinion on this. You know, this developer has been making this game, you know, making Gran Turismo for a very long time, and I kind of feel like they've lost something. Instead of advancing with each title, it seems like that more and more is being taken out. And the consumer is getting less and less. Obviously, if you compare cars from one racer to the other, it's such a lopsided affair that it's laughable. And the same thing goes for the tracks. Do you think that the addition of microtransactions just continues to put a black cloud over the developer and GT as a game?
Do you know what? Gran Turismo, I mean, I remember jumping on to the PlayStation 1 when that launched and getting the first Gran Turismo game, and it was amazing. And as was Gran Turismo 2, PlayStation have had some amazing racing games in the past. Gran Turismo, Wipeout, Destruction Derby was one of my all-time favorites.
Yes, a great game. Great
amazing game. But I don't know what's happened. No, you're exactly right with what you're saying. Polyphony seem to have lost their way, and I don't know why. And I mean, as I said, the first two Gran Turismos were amazing. I really enjoyed Gran Turismo 3 and 4, I believe, was on the PS2, wasn't it? But since the PS3, I don't know what's happened. I mean, they had that Gran Turismo that was coming out for years, and they actually released a demo, didn't they? Where they charged you for the demo.
Yep.
I mean, when has that ever been done? Oh, is half a game with 4 tracks on it. Give us half the price of a normal game, and then we'll bring out the full game. You know, it's really, really bizarre. Their whole business structure seems to have gone really bizarre. And I don't know whether this is something that's been spurned on by Sony or whether this is just something that they're doing. I mean, was it a case of Sony said, look, you're taking too long to bring out Gran Turismo, we need something out now? You know, was that the case, or was it almost like a preview program type of thing? But I'd like to see them get back to where they used to be. I mean, they amazing racing games. The only thing I didn't like about Gran Turismo was I had to pass a bloody driving test before
yes, the licenses are
all the licenses. Oh dear God!
I absolutely detested the licenses. I don't want to sit here for 45 minutes trying to pass a driving test. I've got a real car outside. Let me drive the bloody thing.
I swear the career mode of GT Sport is just an expanded version of getting a license. like they have like little missions for learning how to accelerate and brake the car and learning how to shift up and down and learning how to take your corners and your turns properly. And it's like, oh dear.
And if you failed, that was it. It was like, no, you haven't done that. You got to do it again. It's like, no, I just want to race the bloody thing. So yeah, no, that was the one. That was the one thing I didn't like about them. But other than that, they were great. They were always fun to play, and they always got the tier system correct, and you enjoyed the progression within the games. But no, I mean, Sony seemed to be embracing the whole microtransaction thing at the moment, and I think that's a big shame. It's something that's got a lot of people's backs up over the last 6 months, certainly since Battlefront 2 launched. It's not something that gamers enjoy. They don't like that system. They don't feel that they should be piling all this extra cash into these games. And for Sony to be looking at possibly embracing that now as their new business model, because they're feeling that they're peaking with the hardware sales now, so they need to now look at other ways of getting sort of coin through the letterbox, as it were. I don't like it. I don't like it, and I hope they don't go ahead with this, and the gamers, like they did with Battlefront 2, they get together and make it vocal, because it's not good for the PlayStation gamers. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, these guys are supporting this game, and they bought it, and now they're going to start seeping it. And why go back on what you've already said you're not going to do? It just makes you look bad. And it does. It makes them look very bad. I mean, I've seen a lot of PlayStation gamers saying this week, you know, why are they even doing this after they promised us they weren't going to do this? They've just broke. Can we not take anything that a developer tells us now as truth? They can change their mind and they will get away with it, and we'll just accept it. I think gaming's moved on in the respect now that we have got a voice. You know, certainly on social media and YouTube and all these different things, we have got a voice now, and we can get it out there, and it does work. So I hope it happens with Gran Turismo, because you know, why the hell should PlayStation gamers have to pay more money, you know, for these transactions? You shouldn't have to pay for anything like that. Just work at it. You know, that's what the games are there for. It gives it the longevity of playing, is to work up that ladder to do all these unlocks, not so that some people can, you know, cheat their way up that ladder because they've got more money than sense. And children as well. Children are an absolute bloody nightmare for these things.
You have to be on top of them, otherwise you'll be $50 or $60 in the hole before you
exactly.
I
mean, this has been going on for a long time. I mean, you look at FIFA, and I mean, this Dream Team nonsense that people play so much money into these games, and then they go and buy the next one that comes out 12 months later, and they've got to do the whole damn thing again. It's just ridiculous. It's making some game developers a hell of a lot of money, and it's our loss, really. We're the ones losing out.
No, I'll be totally honest. I have actually spent a total of €40 on Fortnite. Now,
wow,
€40 isn't as much in comparison to what some people have spent.
That's acceptable,
and it's still less than the price of a AAA game.
Correct. And you're still having fun with it. That's the end.
And I'm enjoying the content.
Right. Yeah.
Like, exactly.
And the thing is though, with Fortnite, that's free to play.
Yes.
Again, there's the gray area there. You know, when it's free to play, and of course, Epic needs to get their money somewhere, so that's almost an acceptable thing. You know, because it's like, okay, you're downloading the game for free.
Yeah,
you know, you're playing for free. So it's, that's okay. But when you're talking about AAA titles, or
Right.
supposedly
They
AAA titles,
they've put a lot of time and effort into developing these games, and if they're giving it for free, they should have some way of making money on that game, because they've put a lot of time and effort into it. But then when you look at games like Overwatch, which has sold masses and masses and masses, I mean, a really, really successful game, and it's covered in loot crates and extra content that you can buy by piling money into it. So I've got no issue whatsoever. If you've got a free game, then they should have some way of sort of taking back some money.
Yeah.
But when you're buying games, you shouldn't be piling all this money. I mean, people get ridiculously addicted to just buying loot crates. It is gambling. It is gambling.
Yeah,
it is.
It is. What else?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to quickly say the thing I really like about Fortnite as well is Epic have made the game so well that you do not need to spend a single penny on that game to be really good at it. Like they've worked hard on making it as balanced as they can. So the free player and the people who are paying for the game, they're not like the people who are paying for it. They're only getting cosmetics. They're not getting any other form of advantage.
There's no advantage, and that's big.
And that's big. And the fact that Epic actually got that so right is quite admirable. It's quite admirable, especially when you consider the fact that there's some $60 AAA games out there who can't get that balance right. But Epic got it right for free to play.
Yeah.
You know what? Finish your point, dude.
I was just going to say at that point, before I was nearly cutting off Alan, I was actually going to say something similar to that effect, and just agreeing with it at this point now.
All right, well, listen, everyone had great points regarding this, but you know what? I want to go on to the next topic, and I think this is going to be a fun one. It's also going to be hurting your wallet. So 2018, as we know, is shaping up to be an incredible year. Again, I say this all the time. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. In 2018, you had a game to play on that console. It didn't matter. Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft, you have something to play. So it's a great time for gamers. But this is where it gets funny. For me personally, I honestly can't wait for 2018 just to get the F out of here. And here's why. Okay? From what we know so far, here are the games that are coming out in the first quarter of 2019. Okay? Here's the list. Anthem, Crackdown 3, Metro Exodus, Kingdom Hearts 3, Resident Evil 2, and The Division 2. Now, all I'm gonna say is, holy shit, our wallets are gonna be screaming right after Christmas. So my advice to anyone that's listening, or whether you're live in the chat, you're gonna listen later, ask for gift cards from your loved ones, because there is no way we're gonna be able to afford all these games. Proto Foxy, I want to go to you first, dude. This lineup is insane. I mean, and this is just what we know in the first quarter. How incredible is 2019 already shaping up to be?
Oh, my wallet's already begging for mercy, and we haven't even gotten there yet. and it's funny because you mentioned, and the one I'm super looking forward to is Resident Evil 2. Obviously, I'm a huge survival horror fan. I'm a huge fan of the Resident Evil franchise, and aside from my regular full-time 9 to 5, I got a little side thing I do on weekends and such. And for the side thing I do, I've already told people when that game drops, don't contact me for about a month. You will not hear from me. You know what I mean? I said at least a month. So it's just, and then everything else, like a lot of people kind of downplayed The Division a bit. I actually enjoyed the first one.
Loved it
for the bits I played. I more checked it out via GameFly. But I enjoyed it, and I'm definitely very interested in checking out The Division 2, but there's just so much coming, and that's first quarter of 2019. Yep. It's like, there's so much good stuff this year, but it's just like, just wait. Next year is going to be even better, and it's like I said, the wallet's screaming for mercy now, and it's just like, I can't put in enough overtime.
It's funny you say that, because when I used to work, because obviously I'm retired now, guys used to make fun of me because I used to do a lot of overtime. Like for my job, we were able to do 40 hours a month, and I would get close every month. And people would be like, you know, oh, I'm looking to get a new car. I'm going on vacation. I'm going to buy, put in a new pool. Hey, Boom, what are you doing? I'm buying games.
Yeah, and it's
the
same thing.
They used to carry. Someone was, of course, funny enough to put something on my locker. You know how like a panhandler has, I work for food. I work for games. So that's
yeah, and it's pretty much going to be it. And the fact that both, because I'm a parent, the fact that both my son and I are avid gamers, it's just not only the stuff that I'm looking forward to, it's the stuff that he's looking forward to.
Game sharing 101.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Microbox, I want to go to you, brother. I mean, look, like I said, 2018, great year. I mean, just an incredible year. Every year that passes, when my friends and I get together, we always discuss, oh, this was the best year in gaming. This is the best year in gaming, and obviously 2018 could be one of those years. But my God, 2019 looks incredible already, and this is only 6 or 7 games that we know. What's your take on this blitzkrieg, if you will, of games in the first quarter?
All I'm gonna say is, right, if it wasn't for Game Share, I'd be screwed. I'd have to do 2 jobs. There wouldn't be time for overtime. I'd have to do 2 jobs. I mean, every game that you listed initially there, I want. I love the Division. I can't wait to play the Division 2.
Oh yeah.
Resident Evil 2, the remake. Oh my God, I just could not believe what they've done with that game.
That game looks. Look, from a guy, and it's funny, we're talking about old jobs. When Resident 2 came out in 98, again, my particular job, gaming was like taboo. No one really did it, or if you did, you did it in secret. I was very open, like how I am on the podcast, how I am on social media. That's how I am in real life. I'm open to everybody. My DM's open. I love everyone. I talk to everyone. It's my personality. So that's how I was at my old job. And it was, it was a lot of old timers. You know what I'm saying? So when you said you played video games, they're like, what do you mean? You play Atari? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they broke my balls, to say the least.
At that point, when they ask you if you play Atari, say, hell yeah, I do. Why not?
Well, of course. I mean, come on. My first controller I ever held in my hand in 78. Yes, I get it. I'm an old bastard, but it's okay. I took a week off from vacation. I took a week vacation. Like, guys like, oh, I'm taking a vacation this summer, whatever. I took a week off and I didn't answer my phone, and I beat it both ways. This up, down, left, right, BA, select, start. I did it all. Nice. And I am like with you, Micro, that game, what Capcom has done with the presentation of that title, it looks terrifying to play because of how dark it is. Yes. and how dense, seeing in a dark room really is. That you have to really use that flashlight. The care and precision that they've done for this. Listen, I know this is going to sound crazy, and it may not to you guys because you understand, where I'm coming from. I've already declared it my game of the year for 2019. Ooh. I've gone on record. I've said it publicly, and I'll say it again. Game of the year 2019, Resident Evil 2.
I think I'm right there with you, fella. It's going to be a big seller. I'll give it that. It's a tough one. It's a tough one to call. It could possibly be, but I'm like you though, Boom. I mean, why is it I spent most of my teenage to middle-aged life with a bag over my head in hiding, reading comic books and playing games, and now all of a sudden it's cool and everybody's doing it.
Yeah, it's so mainstream. It's unbelievable.
It's acceptable for me to wear a Flash T-shirt, right? Okay.
Oh, even back then, man, I flew that flag proud, man. I wear the badge, and I've got a couple of very heavy nerd tattoos, and people ask me. I was like, yeah, I don't care. They come into my house, they see my collection of games, my collection of movies. I've got a very large Transformers display in my living room, and I'm very proud of that. Nice. You know what I mean?
Excellent. But it's just weird how things have changed. I mean, I remember booking a week off work when Halo 2 dropped, and everyone was like, oh, what are you doing then for the week? Oh, Halo 2's out at midnight tonight. What?
What's a Halo 2?
What's Halo 2?
Everybody kind of looks at you sideways.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Everybody's doing it now. Everybody's doing it now. But I was the one that was made to look like a leper.
Yeah. Well, I think I definitely see where that's coming from, because you definitely do have the moments. I think a lot of it has to do is just the way gaming culture has been perceived, and I think a lot of that had to do with the popularity of what was the damn channel, G4?
Yes,
in the early 2000s. I think that has a lot to do with it for sure. Now that I'm trailing off, and I'm sorry to step on any.
No, don't be silly. Stop it. This is a conversational podcast. This is what makes the show fun. We do our topics, but you know what? We're passionate, and that comes over the air. And I think the fans that are listening or will listen appreciate that. So go on, my brother.
I appreciate that, Boom. But yeah, I just think I think that was the start of that being perceived as like more, not the dirty closet culture. Like, you had the pro wrestling fans in the mid 90s before pro wrestling blew up and got to be the norm. It was, now it's just acceptable.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm well, look, great point, dude. I can't argue with that. Alan, I'm going to go to you, dude. Listen, 2018, magnificent. Really happy to be a gamer. I'm a guy that supports it, all three consoles. Could not be happier. But damn, man, 2019, right? That 3-month block has become as important to gaming as September, October, November has ever been. And this is really, I mean, look, like I said, I say joking, and I really mean it seriously. Ask for gift cards, because I want all these games. None of these games are going to show up in Game Pass, unfortunately. So we're going to have to actually go out and buy them. And a couple of them are going to have collector's editions, which I absolutely have to have because I'm a nut like that. But what is your take on the first quarter of 2019 being this stacked?
Yeah, like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, and earlier today, I was thinking about the games I'm going to buy later this year, because now that I mostly only focus on racing games, it means I don't really get review codes for a lot of the other genres anymore. So I've been thinking about, okay, what games I'm going to buy later this year. But now you've just reminded me that I need to be considering the start of 2019 as well, because yes, I want Resident Evil 2. It looks stunning. And yes, I'd like to try out Anthem, because that looks like a lot of fun as well. The great thing about the EA games, though, is that I can play them on EA Access before making my decision on whether I want to buy them or not. Yes. So that's a lifesaver. And for some of EA's games, I'll tell you what's been happening. The 10-hour trial is enough for me. I find I don't actually need to go ahead and buy it. Because I'll get what I want out of the trial. Yeah. But so who knows? That could happen with Battlefield 5 and Anthem. I'll have to see. But in terms of this year, my two priorities are Forza Horizon 4 and Red Dead Redemption 2. In early 2019, Resident Evil 2 is, for me, the headlining title of next year at the moment. I think that's a great title to get the year started on. Like, it really is.
Oh, dude, like I said, it's, when you see a company that takes so much care and respects the IP, but more importantly, respects the players that grew up with this. Remember, this new Resident Evil is for a new generation, but it's also extending the hand in friendship to everyone that played the original. And I think that you don't see that often. And I want to kind of segue into Capcom, because if you, again, being an older gamer, Capcom was one of the pillars of the industry. There's no denying that what Capcom has done in their 30-plus year history in gaming is nothing short of stunning. And in a recent article, and this is great news, I'm really tickled pink by this. The Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection that was released on May 29th has blown expectations out of the water for Capcom's financial. And why this is important is a couple of things. One, Capcom is showing success that it has not seen in 10 years. If you recall, prior to Resident Evil 7 coming out, the company was in big trouble, to the point where there were actually talks of being taken over by someone. It might have been up for sale. So you have Resident Evil 7 come out. You have a huge success. They literally saved the franchise because 6 was a complete disaster. It sold well. It sold well for Capcom, but critically it was horrendous. And I'm a Resident Evil fan, and it's the only game I have not beaten. And I've beaten every Resident Evil game on every system, even the imports. I beat them all, and I did not finish that one because it just was it was horrible. And then you turn around and you fast forward. You got Resident Evil 7, right, which was March of last year, and then you have okay. This year, what do you have come out? Shocks the world. Monster Hunter World blows expectations out of the way, out of the water for their financials. You have Street Fighter, which is probably the greatest compilation of games ever to be released. Every Street Fighter you could possibly want to play is on this disc, and now we hear and see Resident Evil 7 coming. Resident Evil 2 coming out in March. Of January of this year, and then there's rumors that in March we might get Devil May Cry 5, the proper sequel to one of the best Devil May Cries in the series, which was 4. This is really showing strength for Capcom. And like I said, being a huge fan all of these years of this company, I'm so happy to see them on the up and up. Alan, I'm going to go to you first. How incredible is this to see a company on the brink of disaster come back in a way that no one expected?
Yeah, Capcom's an interesting company because there was a period there. I remember they came out, with Resident Evil 6 and it underperformed, and then you have Dead Rising games, some of them not doing so well. So it's good to see. It's good to see them be I'm very excited for what they have coming out. As I said, I'm very excited for Resident Evil 2 next year. And I think, because they had Street Fighter 5 as well, and that
launched, that was a disaster at launch.
Completely was a disaster.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing. I'm just, as I'm talking, I'm just thinking of all the different games and stuff they've released. That didn't go to plan. That didn't go well. That didn't go well. It was an endless list of different things over the years. I remember becoming a big Capcom fan, actually with a surprising title, Resident Evil 5. That's what got me into them. Yeah, I think because of my younger age is why. So I didn't actually get into Resident Evil that early. I think that's what happened there. So I got Resident Evil 5 as my first one and really enjoyed it. Later went back to 4 and 2 and the first one and all that. And but then I was quite disappointed by 6.
Yeah, 6 was a huge letdown. You know what it was? 6 became Resident of War. They tried to make it too much really. They tried to hit every point instead of doing what we all know Resident Evil is good, and that's the scare factor. Survival horror is what is at the center of what makes a Resident Evil game good. You can have action, sure. You're going to be shooting people and flame throwing people and stabbing zombies and stuff like that. I get it. But when you turn it into Gears of War, you kind of lost your way.
Yeah, it became too action-based. Yes. I knew people who were playing Resident Evil because they were like, oh, I can, there are people who don't like horror games, they don't like scary games, but they'd play Resident Evil because they know it wouldn't scare them. Well, the more recent entries, except 7, obviously.
Right.
7, they had their good comeback on, and they're continuing that obviously with Resident Evil 2, which I'm personally a lot more excited about than I was for 7. That Resident Evil 2 remake looks, stunning. And I was looking at the store listing for it, and on the Xbox One, they're going to be running in 4K with HDR support.
It's going to have enhancements
on the X, and I'm so excited about that. So yeah, I played Resident Evil 2. I'll tell you how I originally played it. I played the PS1 version on a PS3 through the back compat support that they had.
Gotcha. Yes.
And yeah, I remember playing it actually in the kitchen of all places. I don't even know why, but there you go. That's how I played through Resident Evil 2, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I personally thought it was a lot more enjoyable than the first game.
Yeah, well, look, let me just say this: Resident 2, for me, this is just me speaking. I've been gaming for 40 years, long time, and it is my #1 game in the history of gaming for me. Followed by Resident 3 being in the top 5. But I'm going to go to you, Proto Foxy. See, again, you played in the arcades. You remember playing Final Fight and Street Fighter and Ghosts and Goblins and stuff like that when you put your quarters up. You know, Capcom was the company back in the days with Konami, you know, and Nintendo and Data East. You know, these are companies that, you know, some are around, some aren't around. And, you know, at one point a couple of years ago, Capcom was in massive trouble. Seeing this turnaround as a gamer with your career under your belt, does this excite you?
Oh, I'm very excited. And actually, I'm gonna call you on one thing, Boom, because you did miss one release that's coming for Capcom, and that was another thing that got people excited, and that was Mega Man 11.
Oh my God, dude!
Yep.
Good call on that. I'm glad you pulled my coattails because, yep, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, and that was another big boom for him. And I think, you know, and again, you mentioned Capcom was really in dire straits for a good long time. They were making a lot of missteps. You know, Resident Evil 6 was abysmal. Yeah, it sold well, but man, was that game awful. And especially after playing the demo with Leon's campaign, when you started it, it seemed like, okay, man, we're getting right back into it. And then you play through the whole game. And I'm with you, man. I've played and beaten every Resident Evil, even the crappy Game Boy Color game. All right. You know, Resident Evil Gaiden. I've gone through all of them. Yep. I've gone through all of them, and I have not finished Resident Evil 6. I probably won't. I've told my brother, we've talked about it because we're both big Resident Evil fans. I probably won't go back and revisit that game. I got to and I call, what is Wesker's son's name in the game? I forget his name.
Oh my God, yes.
But I refer to him, to everybody I talk to, I refer to him as the Poochie of the Resident Evil franchise. For anyone who watches The Simpsons, you'll get that. That's exactly what he was. And when I got to that one, I'm just like, that's it. I'm done. I put the controller down, shut the console off, and I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah, I didn't finish it either. I got halfway through Chris's campaign, and when you started seeing gang members turn into flies, I was like, you know what? I think it's done. I'm done.
You know, but for a long time, you know, Capcom was in dire straits, and like you said, they were talking about maybe being even partsed out or just sold outright or what have you. But I think what really started turning the corner for them was, and again, you know, going to their dire straits here when Inafune left, and did the whole Mighty Number 9 thing, and that, you know, I won't get into that, you know, but that's definitely part of Capcom's story, because it was like Inafune was a giant. He may not have been the father of Mega Man like everybody wants to remember him as. You got to remember, he didn't really start coming into his own until like part 2. But that was another huge hit, and a lot of people viewed that as a nail in the coffin. It was like, oh my God, one of their superstars are gone. That's it. Capcom's done. But I think they started turning the corner with Resident Evil 7. And I was really intrigued when that game hit. And let's take a look at Resident Evil 7 from a technical standpoint. That Resident Evil engine, RE engine is what they call it. That engine is up on par with like the Unreal Engine as far as I'm concerned.
It's the real deal, 100%.
It is. When I played through Resident Evil 7, when I first got it in my hands, and I was unsure about it being first person, you know, just like, you know, going way back now when Metroid Prime went to being first person, I was really unsure about that. But that was one of those instances where it's like, you get that game in your hand and it just feels natural. And that was the same thing with Resident Evil 7. I got that game in my hands and I'm like, this is natural. It felt good. It played right. It was smooth. It was amazing. It was terrifying. You know, it hit every nail on the head. And I think that was the turning point, because you mentioned all their missteps. You know, you had the abysmal launch of Street Fighter V. You had them going back and forth, you know, with the Mega Man series, mishandling that. Like they canceled Mega Man Legends 3, and everybody's like, that's it, Capcom's done. But then Resident Evil 7 comes out, and I feel that's where they turned the corner and they realized, hey, we've got something here. We've got the franchises. We've got all the franchises these people want. You know, you got Resident Evil. You've got Mega Man. You've got, you know, Street Fighter. It's like, we can do this, and we can do this right. We just need to refocus. And I think that's what Capcom has done. Yes. Is that they really realigned their focus and realized, hey, we got to do this right. And, you know, when they dropped the announcement for Mega Man 11, and they were showing bits here and there, and it looks like Mega Man 11 is going to do some new things. but it's really that throwback that everybody wanted, that everybody clamored for when Inafune and Concept did Mighty Number 9. And now let's, you can argue whether or not, I mean, obviously it wasn't successful. That was definitely how not to do a Kickstarter and everything like that. But I think Capcom took notice. It's like, okay, our giant went away and he started a company. And whether or not, you can argue if the game was enjoyable, it obviously wasn't successful,
Right.
this, that, and the other thing. But they took a look at it. It's like, we can do this, and we can do this the right way.
Correct. Well, they have the franchise, they have the properties. You know what I'm saying? You say Mega Man, and he still means something for a lot of reasons, because he's in games like Smash Brothers, right? That still keeps him relevant. But but you can come out with a new Mega Man, and people are super excited about that. I can't believe that wasn't on my list of things. So good call on that. But Micro, I'm going to go to you, dude. For the 2018 fiscal year for Capcom, it resulted in being one of the highest operating incomes for the first quarter in company history, and that's a big deal considering they were on the brink of extinction. As a gamer who appreciates where you came from and where you're going to be going in the future, are you happy to see Capcom make a comeback?
Oh god, yeah. No, I was worried sick that we were going to lose Capcom. I mean, I'm like you. I've been gaming for nearly 40 years, and many a wasted day in the arcade, in those arcade games. And I remember many days on my Commodore Amiga hitting that one button for Street Fighter 2.
Oh man, I remember that.
Yeah, trying to remember all those combinations that I can't do now. I mean, I am useless at fighting games now. It's just too many buttons. But no, I mean, for me, Capcom is an integral part of gaming.
Yes.
And the last thing I wanted to do was to see them go. I mean, these guys are the ones that when I bought my PlayStation 1, was the Resident Evil 1 and 2 and Dino Crisis, and PlayStation 2 came out, and then you had Devil May Cry, and I mean, those guys, if it hadn't have been for them, I wouldn't have probably bought those consoles, because they were the things that made me interested in those consoles and want to buy them and want to play them. It was hard moving on from my Amiga. I was very attached. But they're a fantastic game developer, and I agree with everything that you guys said. I think it was for me, I think Street Fighter 5 being a PlayStation exclusive was a big mistake. They really ballsed up with that release anyway. It wasn't what everybody expected. That should have been a cross-platform game anyway. That should have been on all consoles. To actually put that only on one system, to put all your eggs in one basket, as it were, was a big mistake. And that game was, a dog anyway.
And they paid for it. They paid for it financially. It was one of the worst selling Street Fighters in the history of the company.
Yes, and it deserved to be. It was a terrible game. I mean, they've never seemed to get it right on. I don't know why they never seemed to get Street Fighter 4 going quite so smoothly on the PlayStation. I don't know why, but I know that the sort of tournaments chose the Xbox version over the PlayStation version for some reason. I think it was something to do with latency in the controller or something. I'm not sure. But to go solely with the PlayStation on that game was a big mistake, especially when they were in such a dire area with money. Finances have been very bad for them.
Yes.
And Resident Evil 6, I didn't even bother playing it. I just did not like the look of it. I mean, I've played all of the Resident Evils up to that point, finished them all on one platform or another. Loved those games. As I've mentioned on the podcast before, I haven't been able to complete Resident Evil 7 because it scares the shit out of me. I can't play it. I've got to get somebody to sit with me so I can play it and actually finish the damn game, because it just has me on edge so much. I don't know whether it's my old age or whether they have just made a real shit scary game. I'm not sure. I think it's a bit of both.
Maybe do it with the lights on, man.
I do. I have the lights on. I'm outside. I've got people all around me. I've got the sound off.
Oh my goodness! Wow,
it does. It scares the hell out of me, and it's so good that it's been such a huge success for them, and I can't wait for the next Devil May Cry. That game looks amazing. I want them to succeed. I'm glad it's turning around for them, and I'm glad that whether they've changed some management or whatever they've done it right, and they've done it at the right time, because we just couldn't afford to lose Capcom. We've lost so many great game developers in the past, and we can't afford to lose more. And Capcom are a very, very important part of gaming history, and they need to always be there. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, well, listen, the gaming scope and landscape has changed so much over the course of 10 years, where companies have been bought by other companies and just basically phased out. I mean, take a perfect example, Visceral Games. We'll never get I mean, when you talk about how sad is that we'll never get another proper Dead Space because the company is gone.
Yeah, and they were great games. They're fantastic games. They're fantastic games, and we lost them. You know,
it's sad. It's definitely sad. But you know what? I want to move on to the next topic, and this is a good one. This news just broke 2 days ago. I didn't really hear anyone talk about it, but is another Mass Effect in pre-production? And that's a good question, and I got a proper answer for it too. In the Midsummer Update post on BioWare's blog, General Manager Casey Hudson, who has recently returned to BioWare, thank God, this is what he had to say. We hear you loud and clear about the interest in BioWare doing more Dragon Age and Mass Effect. So rest assured that we have some teams hidden away working on some secret stuff that I think you'll all really like. We're just not ready to talk about any of it for a little while. Now, this comes on this with Casey Hudson returning to BioWare. You obviously, you know, when you say BioWare, you're always going to be judged on what was the last thing that you did. And Mass Effect Andromeda, even though it wasn't the worst game I've ever played, it wasn't the Mass Effect that I wanted. And at the time, you know, it didn't do very well. And the manager at that time was a guy called Aaron Flynn, and he obviously took the fall for how poor this game did. And Casey Hudson came back in, and like I said, thank God he's there, because he obviously is the one that really pushed the Mass Effect series forward and brought it to light on the Xbox 360 as an exclusive, if you guys remember. I'm going to go to Proto Foxy first on this. First and foremost, is it awesome that Casey Hudson is back at the helm? And secondly, is a two-part question. Are you excited that Mass Effect isn't a dead franchise?
Well, to answer part one, absolutely. I think it's a good thing. If you're getting the guy who is there at the helm to start and then kind of went away and then come back, it's always nice to see. And it's very nice to see, to go into answering part two, that Mass Effect is definitely not a dead franchise. You know, I mean, like, you know, they did suffer some missteps with, you know, the outcry of the ending of part 3 and then how Andromeda was handled and whatnot. Yeah, they suffered some missteps, but it's nice to see that, you know, that they're kind of righting the ship as far as that series go, because obviously it's got its fan base. It's got people that enjoyed the games. I enjoyed playing the ones that I played. But it's got its install base. You've got your diehard Mass Effect fans. So it's definitely a good thing to see for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, like I said, BioWare is one of those companies, again, very much like Capcom, that has a pillar that holds this gaming world together. And when when a company starts to, when a column starts to crack, it could potentially throw the entire gaming universe on its axis. And, you know, again, if you're that hateful of a person that you want to see people lose their jobs and the company fail, then this is not the industry for you. You should want to see better games and companies thrive, because when a company thrives, you win as a gamer. That's simple.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly. You know, and anybody who wants to see a company fail, that's just, to me, that's just ludicrous. I mean, why? you know, and especially if you enjoy a particular franchise, but it's like, oh, hey, they made some missteps. I want to see them gone. It's like, why would you do that? That would mean you wouldn't get, you know, kind of like a rebirth like we're seeing, like you said, with Capcom and whatever, and a possible rebirth with BioWare and the Mass Effect franchise. You know, it's like, why would you hope for the worst when you want the best? You know?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. That's a great point, dude. Great point. Alan, I'm going to go to you, dude. Casey Hudson, big time dude. No doubt about it. The guy has a track history that is as impressive as anyone in currently in the development industry, for sure. Him being back and him telling the fans, hey, we hear you. Because remember, there was a lot of rumors that the Mass Effect was never going to come back. That was it. That the franchise is dead. We've heard that by many publications. This kind of brings a little light and a smile to all Mass Effect fans. How important is it for him personally to say, "We hear you"?
Yeah, I think it's really important because a lot of times people look at EA overall and they think EA only want, you know, money and they don't care about what franchises people want. Now, actually, I'll be honest. I actually do have quite a lot of respect for EA's executive team. When I was at EA Play / E3 last year, I actually did meet Andrew Wilson, the company CEO, and also met Patrick Suderland, who's like the studio's boss. And for Wilson in particular, I found him a really chilled, nice guy to talk to, and he was asking me about the games and, you know, my feedback on the show and what I thought of the conference and what I thought of, you know, different things and what games I was excited to check out. I was obviously there for Need for Speed Payback that year, but, you know, we were chatting about the games and stuff, and I was like, wow, this guy is just walking around the EA Play area, the company CEO. He's walking around, engaging with gamers, talking to them, finding out what they like and what they don't like, etc. And I'm like, it was a really cool thing to see, and I quite like Wilson a lot. And I always feel like when the Battlefront 2 situation happened last year, I thought he was quick to react and say, "All right, guys, we need to get this. This needs to be straightened out," you know.
Right.
So I quite like Wilson, and I think he'd be the kind of person to say we shouldn't give up on Mass Effect just because Andromeda didn't meet expectations. Like, I think he's the kind of person to say Andromeda wasn't a good enough game. We need to do better for the next one. And I think part of bringing Casey Hudson back to BioWare, it isn't just about Anthem. I think it's also about fixing Mass Effect.
Yes, absolutely. That he's the Godfather, dude. He is the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really wouldn't be surprised. I think Andrew Wilson would totally be down for Hudson and his team to make a new Mass Effect game. I really would. From talking to him, I think they would do that. I think they'd be willing to give it at least another shot. You know, why not?
Absolutely.
And like a lot of people kind of look at EA and they say, "Oh, but they canceled Amy Hennig's Star Wars game. They don't care about single player." Now, from what I heard, that project wasn't shaping up well.
Yeah, well, you know, again, someone's got to write a book because it's going to be a real interesting.
The things I heard about it were that it just was all over the place. It had no direction.
Not good.
Sure, it was a single player game.
Yeah.
But the reason they cancelled it wasn't because it wasn't a multiplayer game. From what I know, it's because the project wasn't shaping up well. Do you know what else? Do you know what I'll compare it to? Scalebound. It was having similar problems to Scalebound.
I heard that also.
So if you think about what happened with Scalebound, think about that with Amy Hennig's Star Wars game. Now, I think Hennig's a fantastic creator. I don't think it's her fault. Sometimes things just don't come together the way you anticipate them to. You know, on the offset, you think this is a fantastic idea. Then you try to execute it, and it's just all over the place. And I know when EA's executive team were checking it out, they were like, you know, people gave us hell over Mass Effect Andromeda. What the hell would they give us if we shipped this? I think that was the perspective of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's definitely not good. And this is why I like having you on the show, because you do get because of your website and because of your ear to the floor, you do get a lot of inside baseball. So I appreciate you definitely bringing that. But Microbox, I want to go to you, dude. Both franchises, Dragon Age and Mass Effect, are huge for EA. They're huge for BioWare, and Casey Hudson, in my opinion, is one of the best people in the industry when it comes to making his games for the fans, but also responding to the fans. And I think by him coming out and saying, "Hey, we hear you," it kind of put out a lot of fires, because there were people who were ready to jump. There, people were on the edge, and he pulled back some people from that edge of madness. Well, what's your take on it, dude?
Right. Well, with Mass Effect, I mean, I am a huge Mass Effect fan. I absolutely love Mass Effect. I've played all the games. I've read the books. There's nothing I don't know about Captain Shepard. Mass Effect Andromeda would have probably failed no matter who was in charge of it. And that's for one simple reason. We spent 7 or 8 years
with Commander Shepard.
Yep. Getting involved with him, with his story, with all the gang around him. And we injected a lot of our own time into that world. And probably most of us read the books as well. And then all of a sudden, Commander Shepard's dead. And we've now got new characters. And it was very alien to everybody. They were like, where's Commander Shepard? And that is something that would have put that game on the back foot straight away anyway. I really enjoyed Mass Effect Andromeda as a Mass Effect universe game. I really enjoyed it. I think it was harshly crucified and criticized by fans of the original trilogy and the gaming media. Yes, it did have some bugs. I never actually saw any of these bugs myself. I never saw any of the weird graphical animations or any of that. I think I must have been one of the lucky ones. I never got any of those issues. The fact that it's not dead, I was hoping to God it wasn't dead, because I want to play the next. I want to play the next Mass Effect game.
Of course,
I really enjoy the series. I enjoy the books. I enjoy BioWare's games. I'm not a big fan of the Dragon Age games. They're not my bag. So I've only played one, and I've only touched that. It's just not for me. But BioWare are an amazing game developer. I mean, these are the people that brought us Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2. Yep. They know exactly how to make
Jade Empire.
Jade Empire. That's an amazing game. You know, these guys know how to make good games. And I think these days we do live in a society which is very quick to criticize and attack the smallest things. In things.
Entitlement. The problem with this generation, dude.
Yeah, definitely. And it just gets blown out of proportion. And I hate to say this, but there are a lot of sheep out there that don't really have their own opinion and just follow behind everybody else. That, oh, well, they're saying this, so it must be true. I'm going to say the same thing as well. And they don't make up their own minds. I think there's a place for reviews, but I think too many people sort of base what they enjoy on a review and not their own opinion anymore. And I think this is why I'm a big sort of defender. We need more game demos out there. We need demos so that these people can play these games and try them themselves and make their own opinion. We're very quick to hear somebody say, that's not very good. And so you turn around and say, he said that's not very good, so I'm not going to bother. But then I'm going to criticize it and put bad reviews up as well. We live in a society which is full of people doing that these days, and we're turning into sheep, and we need to start making our own.
You hit the nail right on the head there, Micro. Damn.
We still
hit the nail on the head.
We need to start making our own bloody decisions and making up our own minds on whether something's good or not. You know. Take a risk. How many games are we getting on the Game Pass that we would never have touched if we listened to reviews?
Right there with you. Yeah. That's correct.
And we're getting to play these games now, and they're bloody classics. They are great games, and we would normally not even give them the time of day. We wouldn't even consider buying them. I think we need to do less of that and do a little bit more of thinking of our own and just diving in and just trying. How many times have we seen that sort of thing on the internet of those graphical problems with that woman's face on Mass Effect? And I never saw them when I was playing the damn game, ever. I think Mass Effect was unjustifiably attacked by a lot of Muppets, and a lot of people jumped on board. And No, I'm not. I'm not going to say it's as good as the original trilogy, but it was still a very, very good Mass Effect game, and it deserves people's time and effort in that game because it was an enjoyable experience, and I enjoyed it. Simple
Yeah,
as that.
I'm 30
That's
hours
really
into it, and I want to continue.
Nice. You know, it's funny enough with all this Andromeda talk. I have my Xbox One on in the background. I got the Kinect plugged in, and it thought I was talking to it, and I ended up launching Andromeda. So I just turned around, and there it is on the screen, Mass Effect Andromeda. Because I actually didn't buy it, but I got it through the EA Access service, which is great, like Game Pass, great to try out games you normally wouldn't play. And to actually go on the point there about game demos and stuff, and to give a little Forza plug, as I like to, something they've done really well in terms of sticking to tradition is releasing demos for their games.
Yep.
Forza always releases a demo 2 weeks before launch. I can assure you there'll be one for Horizon 4 this year, but they have demos on the store now for Motorsport 6, Motorsport 7, Horizon 3, Horizon 2, but you can get the full game for free now.
Yep.
So that's fantastic. Highly recommend checking it out. But something Forza also does is on the Motorsport games is they also have split screen.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
You
wow.
don't see a lot of nowadays.
No,
but they have
that's-
split screen.
No, you really don't.
On Forza 7 split screen running at 4K 60, and it's something you don't hear a lot of people talking about, but there you go. It's in the game. If that's a feature you appreciate, Forza 7 is one of the like, how many split screen games launched last year? Like Forza 7 is one of the few I can think of.
I don't even know any of them, dude, to be honest with you.
I was just going to say, I can't think of any because, again, the whole split screen thing, you kind of equate to couch co-op, you know, old school, getting together with friends in your place and jamming on some games. And
GoldenEye, yes.
Oh, my God, yeah. You kidding me? Yeah, or even like, console linking old Xboxes together to do like Halo or Halo 2.
Oh, my God, yes. We're old men. These kids, they don't understand. But listen, I want to keep with Mass Effect because this is, you see, when you hear me talking, I get excited because I'm a fan, and I know that comes out. I get a lot of messages from people. Oh, Boom, you sound so happy and excited. I really appreciate it about you. I'm glad that you do because this is me. This is going to be a fun one. Casey Hudson returning is a big deal. And I think that he knows, that you know, that I know, that the chat knows. And this is where I want to involve the chat. Please give me in the chat, all caps, hell yeah, or no, I'll pass for a Mass Effect Trilogy HD collection to come out on the Xbox One. This is something that everyone has been asking for. I would logistically play through that game, every one of those games all over again. Mass Effect 2 is probably one of my favorite games of last generation. I'm going to go to Microbox first. Do you think that this, with the possibility, and again, no one, this is my ideology. I didn't hear anything. Do you think that this is?
Don't even bother finishing your question. The answer is yes. I want it now. Let's go start a GoFundMe and then get them to do it. I would buy those games. I mean, the Mass Effect trilogy are probably my most played games. I've played through the first Mass Effect 4 or 5 times. I played through the second one 3 or 4 times, and the third one I played through twice. They're amazing games. They are amazing games. And you can tell how passionate the Mass Effect community is on those games because they dislike the end to 3 so much. They didn't think it did enough for Shepard. You know?
Yeah.
That's what the community is like. That would sell in the droves. I would pre-order that now. If they said that was coming out in 3 years' time, I'd pre-order and put my money down now. That's how much I want it. No doubt at all.
Yeah. I mean, listen... To this day, one of my most prized possession achievements is Mass Effect 2 getting everyone on that final mission to live. I jumped up.
Damn.
I jumped up literally out of my couch. I remember it like so vividly where I almost sprained an ankle. That's how high I jumped in the air because I had played through it once. And I had 2 people die. And I'm like, my God, I want this achievement. But I just had such an affection for all the characters. I didn't want anyone to die. I loved everyone in my crew. And when I finally got it, I'm talking about it, and I'm getting goosebumps. That's how excited I am. But Alan, I'm going to go to you on this one, dude. I saw you say the hell yes that I got in the chat. You guys are awesome. I love it. I love getting in here with the community. You guys rock. But Alan, this is a gold mine that they have not revisited. Would you? I mean, why not? Why haven't they? This would be a good opportunity to reinvigorate the fan base with Mass Effect by giving us what we all want, and that's an HD remaster.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool. It'd be a really great way to also bring new people into the franchise as well. Like, yeah, 4K HDR10.
Yes,
pretty impressive. We're saying HD collection, 4K collection is what we
need. No, obviously, and I say HD collection because that was the standard fare. But of course, moving forward, it'd be the 4K collection with all of the bells and whistles on the X.
It'd be nice to see. It'd be nice to see. Like, look how excited people were at E3 2015. Microsoft announces back compat. What was the showcase game for that feature? Mass Effect 1.
Yes.
Did you see how excited the audience were when Mike was demoing the game on stage and he tells the Kinect to take a screenshot, takes a screenshot of Mass Effect 1, and people were so excited because like, oh my god, look what I can do now whilst I'm playing Mass Effect 1 and I'm playing it on my Xbox One and this looks amazing. And I was watching that one from home and I was bloody massively excited. Like, I thought there's a lot of passion for Mass Effect, and I genuinely think that if that franchise had stuck with Microsoft, it could have really have gotten places. Because I think if Microsoft had bought BioWare, I think they'd have doubled down on Mass Effect.
Biggest mistake the company's ever made,
and that's why they didn't want to repeat that with Horizon and Playground. They didn't want to repeat that mistake, and I think it's a shame because gosh, you could have had some killer Xbox single-player exclusives from BioWare. But anyways, beyond that, forget about that. I think EA should totally invest in doing something with Mass Effect. And I think a HD collection or /4K collection would be really good because the investment required wouldn't actually be that much. It'd be great for them to experiment with, and they could potentially tie it into their EA Access service and, maybe almost launch a day and date on EA Access or something, see if they can, bring in some more subscriptions there or something and try and bring in, extra revenue that way so they don't have to go down the route of microtransactions. I think there's some experimentation they could do there. So definitely, I'd be on board for a 4K HDR remaster of Mass Effect. If they could, I know it'd be much larger scale, but if they could even go further and redo the textures and bring them up to 2018 standard, that would be incredible. That's obviously a lot more work. But what's the name of the studio who does the really good PS4 remakes? Is it called Bluepoint?
Yes, Bluepoint. Yes, they do fantastic work. Yes, Bluepoint is a great developer. Yep.
If EA didn't want to put any of their studios on the project because they're focused on other games and stuff, they could totally outsource that.
They sure could. There's no doubt about it. And it wouldn't cost a lot of money. They would make, oh my god, they would make money hand over fist on this.
They would. Yes. They would, without a doubt. People want it. People have been asking for it for years.
Yes, they have.
I could totally imagine how they could announce this at E3. You have Mr. Wilson come on stage, talk about what EA is coming, and then he's like, maybe at the end of the conference you could say, now, we have our finale showcase, a grand surprise no one was expecting. He walks off and on comes the trailer. Boom, with a release date that wouldn't be too far away, and I think that'd get people really excited.
Dude, let me tell you this right now. The 911 calls for people having heart attacks, the whole place would be taken out on a stretcher.
They wouldn't even need to show a trailer, would they? Just play the music.
Yeah,
people would just know.
Just say MEHD and then just walk off the stage, mic drop, and get the F out of there. Proto Foxy, I want to go to you, dude, because you haven't said anything yet. I know that you're chomping at the bit to talk about this.
I'm ready for it, man. Yeah, I'd totally be down. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm surprised they haven't tapped that yet, to be completely honest. And now, I'm looking at my games collection. I'm gonna have to go through some boxes. I could have swore I had at least the first Mass Effect somewhere. So it would be great for me just to get them, back to at least confirm that I own them again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, I played through them, and they were always an enjoyable experience, barring, of course, the ending of 3. But hey. Everybody's allowed a misstep. You get the one. Yeah, it's to be honest, the fact that hasn't even been announced in the pipeline
it is shocking. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Considering that seems to be the way everybody's going with how we got the Crash Bandicoot collection.
Yeah, Spyro.
Spyro, Street Fighter, which we had mentioned previously. I mean, right. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet, but who knows? I mean, the next year or the future, that's definitely you got things coming. Maybe somebody will pick up and see that, hey, the community is clamoring for this. Why are we not doing this? But yeah, I would do, for me, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a purchase right out the gate if that happens. Just to say that, okay, now I can confirm without having to go through boxes and piles of games that I own to say that, yes, I have them, so that would definitely be nice for sure.
Yeah, and you know what? Here's a crazy thing. They can charge full-on retail price for 3 games that big with all the DLC, and there wouldn't be a peep from the crowd.
Oh, hell no, because first off, you're going to get them in HD or, going forward, and then in the future, the 4K. People are going to buy that hands down just because of that. And then, of course, like you said, if they include the DLC and this, that, and the other thing, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, well, look, like I said, I'm going to be doing a couple of tweets later on with some polls because I got the Mass Effect itch, and I actually probably going to pick up Andromeda as soon as I'm done with, because I've been chopping down the backlog, so that's a game I want to get to. But you know what? The show is running on 2 hours now, and I have to say a couple of things. First and foremost, a big thank you to my panel. You 3 guys were absolutely amazing. I loved having you on. You bring such insight and so much fun to today's show. The chat was nothing short of amazing. And I'm going to say this: the people that are in the chat today are the usuals. And what I really love about the community that comes to see my show, that talks live, is that they talk with one another like friends. There's no wicked cursing. There's no homophobism. There isn't finger pointing. There isn't, because your opinion is different. You're a piece of this or you're a piece of that. It's always so great to see the chat interacting with one another. It's what gaming is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun and exciting. And I'm really proud to say that my chat is a safe space for people to come in and hang out and talk gaming. And I want to give a personal public shout out to a very good friend of mine and very good friend of many people in the chat, and maybe even guys that are on the panel today. Dean from Creating Beyond Limits and Coffee Casuals and Consoles fame finally hit his 1,000 subs this week. And I could not be prouder for the dude. I've had him on my show numerous times, and I did something in the beginning of the week. He was a few short. I reached out to the community and said, hey, please, for me, because I really, like Dean. I think he's as classy as a human being as there are out there. Please sub this guy's channel. And the community responded in a way that had him almost in tears. His thank you video was something to watch. So I'm very proud of him. And also I want to say a big thank you to UK Dazarus. He hit me up and we've been talking privately. And this is, I call him the moderator of the universe, and people think it's a gag. This guy moderates everyone's chats, and he's like the legit dude. And he's like the law. He does not just ban people for no reason. He really goes out of his way to make sure that your chat for your show is safe. And he has a YouTube channel that if you're not subscribed to, I'm asking you as a friend, go to this guy's channel, check out his work. He has the Dazcast, which runs every other week. It's fantastic. It's raunchy and it's an adult show, but but its heart is right where you want it to be because it's about gaming. So I just want to say, if you like what I do and you trust my opinion, head over to Dean's channel, give that dude a sub, and head over to UK Dazarus and give him a sub. These are 2 great guys in the community. They always give back. But you know what? Now I want to talk about my guests. And like I said in the beginning, my outros are a little elaborate because I think they have to be. As being a responsible host, it's not just for me to get you guys on here and come up with the questions. It's to promote you. And I would not have it any other way. And I'm going to go with Alan. I'm going to go with Alan first. Alan, first of all, thank you so much for being here. You are the Forza guy, and I strategically did that giant block because you were going to be on, because your insight with Forza is nothing short of amazing, and your Full Throttle Media website is fantastic. You always have the up-to-date information. You have your ear to the floor with the developers. You know the developers personally, so when you're telling a story, you're telling it firsthand. And I think more people need to go and check out your site. Tell everyone where they could find you, dude.
Yeah, so the website is fullthrottlemedia.co.uk. We have a lot of coverage there for everything related to Horizon 4 coming out this year, Forza Motorsport 7, the Forza Racing Championship, and lots of other racing game news as well. We do cover Gran Turismo and Formula 1 and all those other racing titles, Onrush, etc. So if you like all of those, there you go. They're all on our website, and I covered them in really great detail. Now, I do want to quickly mention, actually, because a lot of you guys who watch this show, I know you used to follow me on Twitter. So what happened to my Twitter account is it kind of disappeared. My Twitter account has been, as from what I know, temporarily locked due to a data bird issue, and it's a bit of an annoying rigmarole, but I am working on it. I have set up a new account for the moment where I post all my updates. It is at Banter Comet. My old account was Beetle Comet. I can't go with the old username because, I don't know, it's a weird situation. So yeah, I have a new account. I'll post it in the chat. So, because I know a lot of you guys used to follow me. And yeah, if you want to check out my new account for all my updates, please do. That would be awesome. And thank you so much, Boom, for having me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk all things Forza and gaming.
I appreciate it, dude. Your knowledge is the best out there when it comes to anything Forza. But your overall opinion on gaming is something I really enjoy talking to you about. I'm gonna go to Proto Foxy, dude. Listen, I found you by watching some of the shows that you're on, and I think that because you're an older gamer, you do have a real unique way to look at the industry as a whole. And because we know where gaming was at one point with sticks and Pong, and we're going to be playing games like Resident Evil 2 Remake. Your passion, it comes out in your voice when you're talking about the games, and I really think that people need to follow you. Tell everyone where they can follow you on Twitter and what shows you're on if they want to listen to you, dude.
Oh man, well first off, Boom, I gotta say I appreciate that greatly. All the kind words and everything, and I've just had a blast being on this morning. It was awesome, and talking to Alan and Micro. You guys are great. I was glad that you invited me to do this. I'm glad to be here, and it was just such a pleasure doing it. You can find me on Twitter at Foxy Proto. Just put my name in backwards. You can find me on YouTube at Proto Foxy. And it's a fledgling channel right now. I've only got a couple videos up and they're real brief. It's a catch-all channel for everything. It's not just going to be about video games. I do, however, have content planned that I will be going into and editing after I'm done here in between everything else I'm doing today. I'm going to have I don't know if I'm going to drop 2 videos this weekend or if I'll do one and then I'll start next week with another one. But, I plan on actually taking a look at, the most recent Five Nights at Freddy's novel because I'm a huge Five Nights at Freddy's fan, hence the Foxy part of Proto Foxy. And then I'm going to take a look at another Magic the Gathering deck that I've been playing the hell out of. And then down the line after that, I do plan on taking a look at Bloodstained Curse of the Moon because that's been
great,
my jam.
dude.
Oh my god, that game has been my jam lately, and I've just finished it all up and want to get my thoughts in on it, maybe even do a quick little run-through playthrough. But yeah, that'll be at Proto Foxy on YouTube. And if you want to hit me up right now, I am not currently on Microsoft Live, but I am on the PSN. I'm on the PlayStation Network. You can hit me up at Happy Emo Puncher. You can find me there to play some games. But yeah, and again, I'm so very appreciative to you, Boom. I'm so very appreciative to both you, Alan and Micro, for taking me in and just having fun and discussing things today, man. It was a blast.
Oh, well, listen, again, it's my pleasure to have you on. It certainly won't be the last, that is for sure. And last but certainly not least, the guy that I continue to stalk to the point of nauseum, Microbox. Listen, dude, we have moved from just, casually being on a podcast to actually becoming like real life friends.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love having you on. I think that the way you talk about gaming is passionate, and and it has experience behind it. And you know what? Some people come up here and just talk rubbish, on other shows where they just want to be there just to talk. Whereas when you come on the air, I'm like sitting at the edge of my seat listening to every word coming out of your mouth, and that's something special you got there. And I love your work. I think that you really put the effort in, and it shows in on your channel. Tell everyone where they could first of all find you on Twitter, and where they can listen to you on other shows, and tell them about your show.
Well, first off, mate, I just want to say how grateful I am to be on here. I mean, you always say these great, wonderful things about me when I come on, and I just think, well, is he talking about the same man? No, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, we've just hit it off, haven't we? At the end of the day, the two of us sort of come together on that podcast, and we just had so much in common, and it's been an absolute pleasure doing these podcasts, and to meet Alan and Proto Fox as well. I'll definitely Proto Foxy, sorry, I must get the name right because Boom didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Totally fine, man. Totally fine.
Terrible.
But no, I will definitely be following you guys and watching what you're doing in the future. I'd love to have you on the Micropod at some time, definitely as well. It is just an absolute pleasure doing this podcast, and any podcast that I do, I love doing it. But and the guys in the chat, I mean, they're just amazing, and they're just always there, and they're always talking with each other and interacting with us, and it's just fantastic. So thank you all as well. But yeah, I mean, you can find me on my channel, Microbox of X. And you can also find me on Twitter under Microbox of X as well. I've followed all of you guys on Twitter today, Proto and Alan. So I'll be stalking you on Twitter.
Thanks so much, man. It's much appreciated.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I mean, just check out. We do. Although I will be I'm going on holiday today. No, I'm not. I'm going on holiday tomorrow. I'm jumping the gun. I'm going on holiday tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. So I'm looking forward to a breakaway. So I will be quiet for the next 7 days. But check out my content. I put a video out yesterday, and every fortnight I do the Micropod podcast, which is a great show with a great bunch of guys. And I sometimes have my stalker join me. And I also do the Dragon X podcast as well with E-Rock X and the Welsh Gamer. We do that every fortnight as well, so you can find me there. But no, thanks for having me on, guys. Thanks for always making me feel welcome, and I hope to be on again soon. I love doing Breakfast with Boom. It's awesome.
Oh, yeah, great. Well, it was great having you. And again, before I just sign off for today's show, I just want to say a personal thank you for the donations in the super chat. That is a big deal for me. I don't do this for money, but the fact that you donate to the channel is extremely helpful. More than you know, more than I'm willing to even admit, and it is greatly appreciated in a way that I never thought it would even be possible to do. So thank you again for everyone that donated, and I just want to say, have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks again to the chat. Thanks again to my amazing panel, and I will see you next Friday on the next episode of Breakfast with Boom. Have a great weekend, everyone.